Hi, it's Karen Fisher. Make sure to go vote for me for the Urban X Awards Most Popular MILF. You can also find me on X at Sexy Karen Fisher and Instagram, Karen Fisher for you. And don't forget TikTok, the Karen Fisher. And you are watching John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the Dojang. It is a beautiful Friday, and let me tell you, the woman I have here is a blue-eyed blonde from Portland that when she was younger, everybody would say, you know what, you're a California girl. Just like the Katy Perry song, a lot of attributes she has just like it. But I digress. You have to listen to the greatness of this woman's story. Not only an entrepreneur, not only a businesswoman, but she's done it quite literally all. She earned her nursing degree. She worked in real estate. She's not only done stripping and bartending, but her day job is one that is highly coveted. And that's what we're here to talk about. But before we get to that, some fun facts. She's a lover of travelers. She knows her sports cars, a big Chris Farley fan. I'm a big fan of Tommy Boy too. Favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption, loves spicy food. But it's the story. We're grinding out the idea of her story and odyssey in this wonderful industry, the adult industry. When she turned 18 with a rebellious spirit, she started dancing, and she always had an inclining she wanted to join, but she was a little reserved. She is definitely the shy type, but once you get to know her, she's more than out there and will tell you everything. But after chickening out so many times, at 25, her friend Karina Kurz, also known for Score, sent in her photos to that gentleman's magazine, and they instantly, without a question, flew her out. And that's when she dove headfirst into the adult industry. And it did not disappoint, even though she is one of the originals when it comes to the internet phase. And the internet phase in pornography is when the internet started to take over the DVD and VHS sales. She is an entrepreneur and one of the innovators of websites. She's worked with Adult Time, Score, Reality Kings, Naughty Kings, and she even launched her own DVD line, American Honey, and she's also done some radio with Desire DeLuca on Dollhouse Radio. The Mademoiselle we have here today is Miss Karen Fisher. And as I've already mentioned, she's graced Hustler and Score, but she's also received numerous nominations for Hottest MILF and Social Media Star, fan voted for AVN, and she's here to talk about her Urban X Award nomination for MILF Performer, Most Popular MILF Performer, my apologies.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hosted August 18th. Voting ends August 3rd. So before you do anything else, go down, vote, and then watch the rest of this interview. Let's get her that win, people. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a Miss Karen Fisher. Mademoiselle, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am well. I am well. I wanted to know where you felt in your career right now. You've done so many things. You've been such an innovator. How do you feel where you are now? Do you feel like this is the right time for all your lessons just to culminate and boost your career up?
Gosh, I feel like for a while, I really, like last year, I only did like two movies. So now I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm ready to start doing more again. So I don't know if my, you know, former years have like given, I mean, I'm sure I've learned things over the years, but I think yeah, I'm ready to be like more active than I have been in the past few years.
And you've always stressed how busy you are. Just a side question. You mentioned a ball, an exercise ball that you've had from a publicist. I had to know, was that from Erica too? Is that the same ball? Do you still have it?
Oh, the dildo ball. No, I don't. That was literally, God, probably at least 10 years ago. And I don't know like what happened to it, but yeah, it was just sitting in my garage for a long time. And then I don't know what happened to it. Probably, I don't know. I probably got rid of it. I'm sure I got rid of it at some point.
But that's still one of the funner stories out of your career and just the exploits you've had. I wanted to dive back to when you were younger. You said you have a love for ballet, you have a love for dancing, but at the time you said that you didn't really appreciate it, you weren't a fan, and then the older you got, the more you were able to appreciate the style and how it's conducted. I wanted to know if you thought, because you would go on to do stripping, if being in ballet kind of smoked the fire for you to be an entertainer, and if you think your love for performing may have stemmed from that, or was there another influence you feel was kind of the reason why you love performing and acting as well?
I think I always just wanted to do something like that. Like that always like intrigued me. Um, As far as like ballet, I think I really loved it just because my teacher was really just the way she taught. Um, also, she just used her imagination a lot, and it's hard to explain, but I think that's why I really liked it so much is because of her. Because like later on, I switched to another lady, and I was like got totally disinterested fast. So I think the ballet was really, I just loved the teacher, the way she taught and the way she would like explain what we're doing and make it into like a story more than just really, I don't know, explaining a bunch of moves, if that makes any sense. But I was always interested in doing like some kind of acting or like modeling or, I always thought, oh, that seems like so exciting.
When you speak about your career, you said you're an avid reader and you're definitely a Renaissance woman. I'm very, very interested to ask you about your trip to Dubai and France. But before we get to that, I wasn't a big fan of reading until I got to college. And it was The Heroine Diaries by Nikki Sixx. And then all of a sudden, it's like the floodgates of everything my dad was desperately trying to make me do as a kid when I would read over the summer, read these books to learn and get these ideologies. I wanted to know when you were younger, were you as big as a book enthusiast? When did this love for learning and business come into play for you?
I think when I was a little kid, like those, I don't know if you had them, but I had the like Little House on the Prairie books or like Nancy Drew, and I'd like just sometimes stay up really late when I was supposed to be sleeping. So I think I always just liked reading and more stories than like actual like useful information. For the most part, like mostly fiction. But yeah, I always like that. I guess I had like a big like a very active imagination. That's part of probably why I liked the way that my ballet teacher taught is because she really encouraged that, and she also had a very active imagination.
What was her name? And were you able to keep in touch? Are you aware of what happened to her or been able to thank her for her teaching? Because there are people in our lives that influence us and they come in at pivotal moments.
I know like 20 years ago, she was still teaching, and that was when I wasn't doing ballet anymore. The name was Leslie. I'm not sure if she still is. I'm not sure if she is still teaching. She'd probably be like in her 70s, right? So I would imagine probably not. And I never really did get to thank her.
It's okay. She knows in the heart. They can tell
Yeah.
you're good like that. Something that is passionate to me is the medical field. I'm a pharmacy technician. My mother's a nurse, and I know your dad was a nurse. And I wanted to know what the time frame was it for you to become a nurse because my mom says it often, it's not made for people like us. And it can be difficult. It can be a little bit gatekeeping, but you did it after you've already started working in adult entertainment and having your other avenues. I know your family was pressuring you to get the degree, but when you were doing it, what was your thinking? Was it like, oh, this is useless? And then you got it, it was like, oh, this is useless? Or was there times where you're like, okay, I may really go be a nurse with this?
No, I never actually worked as a nurse. The degree, like I've always been interested in how the human body worked. Like I always found that really interesting. So it was just something that I found really interesting. And also, yeah, my I don't know, my grandmother was like a teacher and my mother was like very education is just key. You have to have an education or you're going to be like for your whole life, which isn't really even true nowadays. Not that it doesn't have value, but it's not, there's other ways to make money that inspire that. Um, so yeah, it was more just something that I was interested in. Also, just kept my family happy. Yeah.
Do you feel there was ever a moment you were able to utilize it?
I'm trying to think. Um, I mean, it's always good to have some medical knowledge, but I can't think of any like particular like circumstance.
Something else that was interesting, I also worked for a realtor, and you were able to work as a realtor in Florida for a long time before the bubble exploded. People, if you know The Big Short. And one thing that I never heard before was you didn't have to take the real estate test. You were working under the company, and that's how you were able to sell. Could you elaborate how that worked out and how that's even possible in circumstances?
So in Florida at the time, I don't know how it is now, this was a long time ago. You can work under the builder license. I had just gotten divorced, and then I started doing that, like doing real estate. I just happened to be lucky and met, somebody who was a builder and who wanted to hire me. And that was when people were saying, oh, by now you'll never be able to ever afford a house. I don't know what year it was. Anyways, it was before the crash. Like right before the crash. So like after probably about a year, it just became, I don't know, the market was horrible and nobody wanted to buy and like prices.
And that was a quick turnaround too, because I do remember you mentioning, I believe it's the same marriage. You were working as a telemarketer for him, and then you would
Yeah.
homes. I noticed the trend of a lot of adult entertainers go into real estate. And I think a lot of that has to do with the entrepreneurial skills. A lot of it has to do with being personal. Everybody's such a joy when I speak with them. I wanted to know while you were working for your husband, and now that I know the time frame for the real estate, did that help with your entrepreneurial skills with selling yourself? Because for people that don't know, you've had a long run of consistently, and I mean consistently even before social media made it a thing, of posting weekly for your content, creating the content, and making sure your fans were fed, much like artists when they tour over and over again those markets. So when they finally do get the clout, they can perform in these arenas without ever having to advertise. Were there any lessons from those jobs that you were able to take to your career?
But I feel like the only thing that I learned from being a telemarketer was that I don't want to be a telemarketer. That's like the main thing I learned because people are really mean to you like all day long. I think you do learn a lot from, like, I think in general, the more you deal with people, the more you learn about dealing with people. So real estate was helpful in that way. But also, I feel like a lot of people and this is also why I think I never really went into nursing. A big part of it is I've been self employed for so long. And like, I can't imagine, I don't know, just the idea of having to like work for somebody and having like somebody tell you when you have to work, especially nurses, right? Because they usually get like, you have to work on Christmas, you have to work like I don't know, sometimes it's 24-hour shifts, like all this. I just was like, and I'd rather, I don't know. I think I just want to do something for myself, and be more in control of my schedule. Not that I won't do, I mean, you have to work hard in real estate, right? But there's just more flexibility.
We're jumping to the beginning of your career with Karina, Ms. Curves. She sent in your photos to score. I'm very curious to see what your reaction was when you found out, because you were teeter-tottling. When she finally did it, was it a boost of adrenaline, excitement, kind of like, okay, you know what, let's go for this, or was it kind of the shock factor, like, what did you do? Why did you do that? What was the relationship with Miss Karina? And when she did it, what was your initial feeling? Because it was a decision that really, really did set the stage for the rest of your life.
I think I was excited and nervous. And Karina, honestly, I think, how did I find her? I don't even remember how, like, because it's been so long. I don't remember how I even met her. Um, I think I just like randomly heard about her somewhere and then I emailed her and told her I was like interested in getting into the business and blah blah blah. And then she was like, yeah, let me send your pictures to a few people. So
And then they flew you out and, of course, score. And your initial name was Karen. Then you went to Samantha Silver.
for a few videos, yes, Amanda. Yeah.
So, what made Karen Fisher stick? How did you come up with the name?
When I first started, I had a webmaster and I switched webmasters. And then as soon as I started using Samantha Silver, she bought my prior master bought the URL Samantha Silver. So I switched back to Karen because I didn't want to be like sending traffic to her, if that makes sense.
I did want to ask you a question. So my name was derived by my mentor and a friend, and they meant John the Ninja as an actual ninja because I was good at getting places and not being seen. I was good at being able to fight and a couple of other things that just worked well with radio. But now the culture has taken my name and it's kind of turned it into, not necessarily just an expletive, but a different description that people get a kick out of. So when I speak to people professionally, they kind of get a like, "Oh, is that what you mean?" And then when I speak to people on the street, they're like, "Oh, that's great." And I was like, "That's not what it means. Actual ninja." I wanted to know, did you have to experience any controversy when the naming of Karen became a thing?
Nobody has ever said anything to me. Like, no, not at all. I'm like actually surprised somebody hasn't done like some kind of play on it, where I played an actual Karen. I should actually probably do that myself. But yeah, it's never ever come up, and I'm actually surprised that it hasn't.
We're gonna copyright that for you. Make sure you get the rights ASAP. And that's another thing I love about the innovation. You started your website at a time where it was just a pain in the neck. How did you dive into that venture being as astute as you are and as determined? When you reached out to the webmasters, what did you learn? What did you present to them to make it really your own so you could have that form of income and your name on it?
So I honestly, it was just somebody that Karina Curves knew, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to have these people are like webmasters?" So I was maybe like 25. I didn't know anything about building a website, so I didn't. It's not like I had any of those technical skills. They did that for me, but it was a different time because there wasn't like all this free porn. There weren't that many sites. So it was a lot easier to make money.
When you initially joined the industry, there was a little bit of a waiting turn. Was there a moment before it actually broke that you're kind of like, you know what, maybe this might not be for me? Did you have another plan, or was it just you're so determined you go 100 with it when you go into a venture?
When I first started Big Score and I had my website, I did make a few trips to LA. Like I'm from Oregon, so I flew from Oregon to LA. And so I just felt like after I was paying for like my rental car, because there's no Uber, it's like rental cars and like hotel and flight. I wasn't making like very much money, or maybe sometimes I broke even. So it's like, this isn't really like worth it. Like it's not really working out financially. So I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then when I did finally move to California, like in 2008, it was I'm more out like I live in Palm Springs, so out in the desert, the hot desert. So then I don't know, I thought, okay, as soon as I get an agent, I'm gonna be like working all the time. And I was maybe doing like 4 scenes a month. But I guess that was good at the time because so many companies had gone under because of like all the free porn. But I thought it would be more. I don't know.
Somebody that we have to mention, podcast alum, sweetheart, Sarah J.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you guys are good friends too. I wanted to know when you met her, because looking at your stories as far as entering the industry, very similar, same drive, same work ethic, same care towards the fans and taking care of them. What's your experience with Miss J, and how did you guys really solidify that friendship?
Before I was doing movies like more full time, and before I moved to California, I had a boyfriend that was in the business, and she just happened to be at a party. I think it still exists. There was a convention called Intermix, or not Intermix, Internext in South Florida. So that's like when I first met her, and I think we started becoming better friends when another girl that I was friends with um had a we all went to and Sarah, we all went to London together. And that's when we became like we started to become closer. And I don't know, it just kind of like happened. We just became better friends throughout the years.
Is there any really good business advice she gave you, or you guys went back and forth on? Because I just marvel at how really on it she is as far as the researching, diving in, just like yourself. As I mentioned, you ladies are, two sides of the same coin. It's really fascinating to see how well she is at navigating the negotiation and business space.
She works insanely hard, like way harder than I do. Um, I mean, just to be honest. But one thing I did learn from her is that, like, don't stop trying to do everything by yourself. Like, right? Like, have kind of, other people do certain things for you, like maybe social media, or like maybe have people like post on, Pornhub or blah, blah, blah for you. Instead of trying to do like everything, outsource some of the things that you're trying to do, which helps because it's hard to do everything all of the time.
When it comes to the industry. You've been vocal on your disdain for a particular type of story. And it's one where I've heard a lot of back and forth. A lot of prominent performers have stated, like, yeah, this is a little weird, but yet they're widely known for it. And then other performers, they're saying, like, it's just not my thing. I won't touch it. And having performed in Taboo, I wanted to know what your take was for the culture of the adult entertainment. Why do you think it's still prevalent? And for you, when you perform, are you able to disconnect and say, this is just a performance, it's just entertainment?
There's maybe been a few scenes that I felt like, oh, this is a little like too much. But I guess it doesn't bother me just from doing like Sex Panther and like OnlyFans. There's so many men with that like fantasy, even like men that are way older than me who like want you to be their mom or their like stepmom. I don't personally like understand that, but it doesn't really bother me. It's you're just enacting a fantasy that a lot of people seem to have.
And you've stated that you're more sexually open-minded when it comes to this world. Why do you think you enjoy male, female, female? You said that's your most preferred scene. What about it is something that makes you feel fulfilled as a performer?
I think it just adds like an extra dynamic to the scene, especially if it's a girl like that I like, that I like her as a person, as whatever. Maybe it's a bisexual thing, but also I think it's just add like a little extra like fun to the scene.
One thing that I really wanted to highlight and get your take on is the year odyssey for your surgery. You had a brain tumor for a year.
Oh, yeah.
When I had my health scare, I had a trash. I was working outside and our area was known for needles and I had a prick. So I started freaking out. It's like, ooh, it wasn't a joke at the time to see. So I had to get tested. And then after I got a clean bill of health, then I was at an event I was working and then I was exposed to blood. And then I was just like, man, I just got a clean bill and I got to get tested again because the people that were working didn't get tested. And I remember the anxiety and fear, even though I was thinking logically about it, there was still this apprehension of what if. And it just kind of kept on hitting me every now and again. Probably shouldn't have watched Dallas Buyers Club at the time either. I
Uh,
wanted to know how you were able to deal with that anxiety because it can be so crippling that you just don't want to do anything or you just want to wallow in that fear, but you just find this something that just gets you out of bed and then you start working again. I wanted to know your thoughts on it because you had a lot on your plate, not just with performing, but with the family and everything else that was going along.
yeah, no, I think like God, for the first like during the day I would be okay, but like just at first at night I asked my doctor like I need something to sleep because I would be up till like 4 a.m. like reading they and that's one of the things they said. They said, okay, you could have had this your whole life and never known because we've never done an MRI of your brain before. Or this could be like brain cancer, but don't read about that brain cancer. But of course I like read about it and it was really scary. And there was also this lady named like Brittany Maynard who's on every effing magazine at the time because she had had the type of brain cancer they thought that I might have, and she decided to do doctor assisted suicide because there was like quote no hope. And not that I'm against like people having that option, but I just at the time I just didn't want to see her because it was like a constant reminder like, oh, this could be you. um but after like a good like 4 to 6 weeks, I just thought, okay, like I need to get a grip. I can't just, because they were just like, we're just going to monitor it because we don't want to go in and, um, do brain surgery if it's nothing. Especially because there's a chance they could destroy certain parts of your brains and like blah blah. So I just started when I was reading, okay, I actually came upon this one lady that had the most aggressive form of brain cancer because if you have brain cancer, there's certain like grades, like very slow growing, very like fast growing. So she had the most aggressive kind, which you're basically just like, I don't know, maybe have a year at most. And anyways, but she had beat it. And so I just started reading her story like every night and then just thinking, okay, like if she did it, I can do it too. And then I started like trying to find other people who had like beat the odds. So that was like super helpful. And honestly, I think just going through all of that and not knowing if I had brain cancer for like a year, um, I think that's also why I used to just constantly bust my ass. But now I feel like there's more to life than just like working and making money. So I think for a while I got like a little too lazy, but now I'm kind of just finding that balance. Um, yeah. And then I did have to have the surgery because it was, even if you don't have cancer, if you have something growing in your brain, you can't just leave it because you can start to have seizures and it can start to like affect other areas of the brain. So I did end up having to have it removed, and thank God it wasn't cancer, but just was still, the recovery was really difficult. I swear it took me like years to get back to normal.
When did you feel normal again? Because you performing is actually what saved your life. Or regardless of if it was or wasn't, Samantha G and you did a scene. She noticed that you were lactating, and I was like, "Well, hold on, that's weird." And it just spiraled to getting that checked out. And it turned out the tumor was in that certain part of the brain that would release I'm forgetting what the protein, I believe.
Prolactin. Yeah, it's like it was in the pituitary, which is where all your hormones are made. And yeah, I guess it was just like putting a little bit of pressure and causing me to have um like elevated prolactin.
When did you feel like yourself again? Because I had a family member that served, and I want to say maybe it was like 5 years. She came back with PTSD. And when, maybe 2, 3 years, it was like, okay, she's back to normal. And then like 5 years later, she's like, you know what? I'm starting to feel like me again. I was like, wait, what? Hold on. What do you mean? So when was it that you were like, okay, I am back and I'm 100 again. Let's keep going. Is it now too, since you've been expressing you want to work more and you want to go right back into everything?
Um, when did I feel like it took years and years and years to feel normal. It took such a long time. And then I think as far as like not being as active for a while, like I think part of it was just I kind of got used to like not doing that much during COVID, and it was kind of like nice. And then I'm like, well, I think we better get back on it. Like I feel like sometimes you have to take a break and then come back stronger.
I did have a question about that. As I mentioned earlier, traveling, you've been doing quite not expensive, I'm sorry, extensive traveling. You've been to Europe, you've been to Asia, and I wanted to know what about Dubai was so nice because you went, I believe, in 2019, and you've also mentioned that you loved France. I wanted to know what about those two locations that you thoroughly enjoyed. You are a foodie. Was that part of it too, or was it a little bit more nuanced to you other than just like the culture and what people usually hear?
I don't know. I think I was already going to Europe. And the thing is, when you're already going to Europe, like so many things are closer. And I knew other people who had been, and I was just curious. So I just thought, okay, might as well go. I think actually having the brain tumor, that's when I started to travel a lot because when you're thinking about like, okay, my life might be cut really short, you think about all the things that you wanted to do that you didn't get to do. And so I kind of went like full on YOLO, which was fun at the time, really. So I think that's also what kind of stoked all the travel. But yeah, I was just curious about Dubai. basically. So I just went.
With other places that you've traveled to, you've been to New Jersey for Exotica, you've been to Miami. I wanted to know if you had any fun stories.
Gosh, do you have any really like funny stories from Exoticas? I went to my friend Sexy Vanessa. We went to Singapore together. And Singapore's like crazy. I think it was March or April, but it was so hot, like unbearably hot, unbearably humid. And we were staying like across the street from this mall. And it's really, you don't want to be outside like during the day. So we just would go to the mall during the day or like if we weren't at the pool. So we went to this mall and I was wearing this like long sundress. And it's a kind of dress you can't like really wear a bra with. And I also, because it was like long and dark, I didn't wear underwear. It was just, it's hot, like crazy hot. Anyways, um, and then I was going down this escalator and my dress got caught in the escalator. And it kept getting like more and more and more. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get stripped naked in this mall. But luckily like somebody came. I've never had that happen. Somebody came and like stopped the elevator before that happened. But yeah, that was crazy.
Oh,
It never got to the point where I was like, oh God, like, but I just saw myself getting more and more, and I was trying to like pull it out, but it wouldn't come out. Anyway, one of the
that
shop owners, there was some button that was like on the other side that I couldn't see. And they just ran out and yeah, thank God that they did that.
but you did just do your first E-Play Streamers live show. I wanted to know how that went for you.
So if I'm being like super honest, the people at ePlay were super nice. I like working with them, like dealing with them, but I don't, this is one thing I've never liked, like those free platforms like Chatterbait or like where everyone can watch you and like a few people. Like I think that's why I didn't like being a stripper is because you just have so many like freeloaders. Um, and it was just like that. It was like pretty much like all freeloaders. So it was kind of, but I got paid a set amount to do the show. But I always feel like if somebody's paying me, I want to try and still do a good job. But it was really hard to do the job because you have kind of like tip goals to do certain things and when nobody's tipping like nothing kind of happens so it was I don't know, it was a weird experience.
When you do talk to the fans, how do you make it more personal for them? Because you are always catering to them.
I like chatting with my fans and interacting with them. It does take a lot of time though. I feel like Sex Panther's a little more like low key, like those guys, because they're not paying like a membership. If they don't answer you, if you don't answer them like right away, they are like cool about it. Whereas sometimes the OnlyFans guys get like worked up if you're not answering them at 3 a.m. So like that's one thing I'm like, eh. But otherwise, other than that, I like it. Yeah, but it does take a lot of time.
Would you say you allocate most of your time to your website? Over 25 years you have been in this industry. And again, I really want to hit home how consistent and how strong you've been able to keep your presence in it, where most careers less than a year, less than two. They get in, they get out, and you've consistently been a force along with the Hall of Famers.
Well, thank you. I feel like it's OnlyFans now or Sex Panther. I don't have to send videos out on Sex Panther, but as far as just like making money, people, it's weird though too because you can pay. I don't know. I feel like my webmaster is always having specials for like $13, and you get like thousands of scenes for that one price. Or you can join my OnlyFans. I don't know. I think it's like $7 or $8, but then it's pay per view. But people just love the OnlyFans. Also, though, on my website, like there's no way to message me, like to chat with me. So I think that's also part of it is people like to chat, they don't like to sex, they like stuff like that.
I did want to ask because you had your own DVD line for a long time. I'm an audio guy. I love my CDs. I love my vinyl. I love my DVDs. I was wondering if the occasion were to arise and you found a market, are you still able to provide those DVDs for fans, or would you have an inkling of doing any kind of memorabilia for them? I thought that was a good idea.
Memorabilia, sure. I don't know about DVDs because I feel like it's kind of a when I was doing it, it was a dying market. Now it's even like more of a dying market. And there's a lot of like cost and so a lot, I have to make a DVD, you basically need like the movie straight off the reel, right? Like yes, I have a copy of the movie, but it's not like right off the camera, right? Does that make sense? And that's what you need. I mean, I would have to start filming, especially for the DVD. I don't know. It was just a lot, but I would love to have some type of memorabilia. I just don't know about like actual physical DVD.
Being nominated for an award nowadays, still a huge deal. And with so much competition out there now, social media, OnlyFans, everything is so saturated. So to even get a nomination, let alone be well known as you are, is such a huge milestone. I wanted to know for you at the Urban X Awards what the nomination meant for you this time around, because you have been nominated, but I feel like now is a really, really important time to recognize, like, hey, anybody that gets to this level has to be on that pedestal. They have to be recognized for the hard work on and outside of the camera.
I was excited and I was okay, a little surprised just because I haven't been that active. Um, but yeah, I like very excited.
7 years ago, you did an interview and you stated that you were concerned about the state of freedom of speech, like things were becoming restrictive in the adult entertainment industry. I wanted to know your thoughts on it now, especially with everything happening. Even the websites for the Florida situation where they're blocking the hub and certain websites had to adhere to the new law. What are your thoughts on the industry now as far as freedom of speech and the First Amendment?
So yeah, it's super concerning. If you look at Project 2025, one of the things they want to accomplish is like banning pornography and like putting makers of pornography. Project 2025 says that one of their goals is to ban all pornography and to do felony prosecutions for like all makers of pornography. I don't know if that's for performers or companies or what, but that's what it says in there. So that's like one of their goals. Um, if they'll pursue that or not, I don't know, but it does say that that's one of their goals.
Been very vocal on as far as advice is taxes. And it's something people always hear, but people aren't sure how to actually implement it, how to save, what to save. I wanted to know if you could give us an example for when the end of the month comes for you, since you are an entrepreneur, since you are your own boss and you have to keep track of those things. How do you actually protect yourself to ensure that you have your money right, you have your taxes correct, and then at the end of the year, you know how much to allocate to the IRS or the government?
Like every state is different. I'm incorporated. That also makes a difference. I would just get a really good CPA, like a very good accountant, to kind of help you with that. Like that's what I do. I don't try and like just figure it out all myself.
Mademoiselle, I always ask the most important question last. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So one thing that I learned just from having like a health scare is just, and also I did hear that like most of the things you worry about will never happen. So just don't, don't dwell on all the bad things that can happen. Um, I think that's super helpful. And also make time for the things that you want to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Miss Karen Fisher. You have to go. I told you once, go down again. You can vote multiple times. Go to the link in the description, Urban X Awards, August 17th. You have until August 3rd to vote for Miss Karen Fisher, Most Popular MILF Performer. Say it again. Most Popular MILF Performer, MPMP. That sounds legitimate, and that's what she is. Mademoiselle, thank you so much for coming on. And everybody else, before I let you go, I got to tell you to head over to our OnlyFans. It's Karen Fisher. You can also hit her on the hub, also Karen Fisher. You can get her on X at Sexy Karen Fisher, Snapchat, the Karen Fisher, and you can always go to our website, guys. You can see all the descriptions and whatnot. We got to be careful with YouTube. They got me for last time. But anyway, Mademoiselle, joking aside, thank you so much for coming on. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And everybody else, be smart,
Have
be
a good
mindful, rock on. As always, Ninja out.
Hey, it's Karen Fisher. Don't forget to go vote for me for the Urban X Awards, Most Popular MILF. I would love to have your vote. And also follow me on X at Sexy Karen Fisher, Instagram Karen Fisher for you, TikTok on it's the Karen Fisher, and you are watching John the Ninja.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.